Hello and welcome to this week's edition of No Access Required. So today's subject is Destiny dead? Well, yes and no. Now, initially you might be surprised to hear that I said no, because, well, business is a fickle mistress and it will do whatever it has to do to turn a pretty penny. And in this instance, it seems as though Destiny, despite all its current woes, is just too lucrative of a franchise to just let die in the dirt. I think the more important question here is who killed it? Was it Sony or was it Bungie? Now you might think this is a bit of a moot question. After all, we're here. But history does love a good post-mortem, and so does a good murder. But unfortunately for us who enjoy a good murder mystery, this one isn't particularly twisty or turny. So let's have a brief look into this and see what we can glean. If indeed Sony killed Destiny 3, then it did so for a few different factors. Bad decision making being chief amongst them. It's had so many bad calls over the last 12 to 15 months that it's hard to put a pin in them. The bad decision making by Sony just keeps popping up everywhere, and you're left chasing them around. Add to this the purchase of Bungie. And as with all things murderous and Machiavellian, timing has played its part. PlayStation is a separate part of the business, and as such must stand on its own 2 feet. And if it makes bad decisions, then, frankly, Sony, the parent company, will just cut off the cancerous limb. There's more at stake here than just Bungie. And let's not forget the rather dubious slow deaths that surround live service games. Now, true, this wasn't a particularly slow death. It was the sort of Damocles coming down sharply, hard, and quickly. Sony, it seems, putting out the fire before it got hold. And I think we can put this decision to kill Destiny 2 off down to the fact that Sony has decided to realign its live service ambitions wholesale. From this point on, I think we can safely say that Sony will do whatever is required that makes the most sense for it, and that the fans will just be left mouths agape wondering, Sony, what the fuck are you doing? But business is as business does, and big business will do what it must. And Destiny 2 is just another casualty, more collateral damage. But I can't help but think, what would the Sony executives think if they ever get wind of this petition to save Destiny? Will they look at it and think to themselves, wow, there's a community out there which is not only passionate, but seems desperately to want to carry on playing? Will they then weigh that cost up against the other decisions that they've made recently? But big business knows something that most gamers don't know, and that is a petition with many signatures on it doesn't directly translate into players. It translates into wouldn't it be great if? It's just a concept, an idea, a wish, if you will. And so, what if Bungie killed Destiny? My own feeling on this is quite simple. I think that a great game was ruined by the live service element that was shoehorned into it. Destiny 2 was a victim of its own live service ambitions. And as live services have a habit of doing, it just played itself out. The game was doled out over 10 years in a series of piecemeal episodes which were designed to get the most money out of the players that were playing it. No, I'm not saying that the game was a bad game and it was just a monetization nightmare. No, far from it. They did the best they could. There were some stellar moments in Destiny 2, but there were also some really not so stellar moments. And the internet has already spoken on these issues, and I don't feel the need to add to them here and now. Destiny just played itself out. It's that simple. Sony recognised this and decided, do you know what? Let's just do this now. What they didn't expect, I think, was the reaction from the community. And this brings me to my last point. Why Destiny isn't dead, even though, on the face of it, it appears dead. No, somewhere in the mess that is Destiny, there is a pulse, a sign of life. And I think Sony recognizes this. And a year or so down the line, it may very well announce that it started work on Destiny 3. After all, with the current debacle and everything that's happening at PlayStation and its bad decision making, one can only guess that a pause, a moment to take a breath, is sorely needed. Sony needs to regroup, to realign, to refocus, and Bungie is just the effect of that cause. Now, I know I said that was going to be my last point, but I lied. You see, in the back of my mind, I can't help but think, I find it incredulous, in fact, that Bungie hasn't done any work on Destiny 3, that there hasn't been any preparatory work, that there aren't any concept sketches, that there hasn't been any storyline writing done, that the story hasn't been fleshed out on at least paper somewhere. Paper? Now there's a thought, showing my age. I'm now going to upend everything that I've just said in favour of a wish that I have in my heart for Destiny. And that is, somewhere along the line, Bungie have been working on Destiny 3. But as these projects go, they remain classified and within the company. Everyone is sworn to secrecy. And Sony came along after buying Bungie and just made the decisions they've made. But everyone is still sworn to secrecy. Nobody can mention Destiny 3 or its current state. No, I think Destiny 3 is there. I think it exists, at least in some shape or form. And Sony killed Destiny 2 because Destiny 3 exists. Do let me know what you think in the comments. Do like, subscribe and share. It really would help the channel. And until next time, bye-bye.